It was like a time in my life, actually. Like there was some hiccups that were happening. You know, there was just a lot of things that weren't going right in my life at the time, I guess. I couldn't take my job anymore. Like I couldn't take the work environment. My son was 3 years old. It was just a tough time, and then so it put stress on my relationship with my lady, and you know, we split up for a while, and then I went 9 months unemployed, accumulating debt. At the same time, I started making baits and selling them. So that was like the origin, like the birth date. It's scary, like, how do you build this? How do you do this? There's no blueprint. I'm just a fish bum. I'm just a fishing bum. That's who Cesar Chavez is. I just like to fish a lot. Like that's all I like to do is fish. My first pocket knife I found when I was fishing, I was probably like 6 or 7, and I found it and I showed my dad and I asked him if I could have it. I'll never forget it because he's like, "You think you're old enough to handle that?" I'm like, "Yeah." So he let me have it, and I walked away and I was fishing. And I was cutting some grass or something, and I sliced my palm, like, right down the palm. It was bleeding everywhere, and I went back and, he said I held my hand out like this with no hand, and gave it back to him, said I wasn't ready. I didn't get into hip hop until maybe like sophomore year, when I started hearing like Flip Mode Squad and stuff. Like I listened to rap, but then when I started hearing that mid-90s stuff is when I really grasped onto hip-hop. And then that's it. Since then, probably since 96, 97, is fishing and hip-hop. That's it. That's what raised me, especially out here on the Delta. Everything that's predicated in my day has some hip-hop influence. Everything I do, every movement I make is hip-hop, if that makes sense. So Pharomonch is like the dopest MC. He's the alien, you know. Pumpkinhead, rest in peace. Pumpkinhead was super fresh. Sean P, rest in peace. So many good cats are gone. C-Ray's Walls, all the old Def Jux stuff. You know, just really super lyrical MCs, freestyle MCs, Ace Rock. You know, and then just all the 90s hip hop, Wu-Tang. Everything from New York, Styles P, you know, Locks, just that type of vibe. Even the West Coast stuff, Project Blue, I don't know, everything. But if there was like someone that's Pharomonch, and then Casual from Hyro, he's dope battle MC. So I think it's like ingrained in the products I make, because the products I make are me. Like I don't ever make anything to appease anyone, ever. Like, I don't create to appease anyone. Like, every once in a while I'll find myself going like, "Oh man, if I make this, then they might like that," and it never works out. Like, I just create what I want, or, you know, whatever it is. So I think hip hop is like, in every piece of Toxic, there's hip hop. I use spray paint because it's like, I don't know, I had it on hand. And I'm not an artist, in the traditional sense of the word, so I didn't know what to do with that. So I just started rocking rattle cans, and then I wanted to stay with it because it's like my small little latch on to graffiti art. If I was ever talented enough to do anything like that, that'd be dope. But instead, I just paint my baits. So, and there's like the 4 elements of hip hop. So there's always graffiti and everything, style, imagery, and everything. So to be able to do that on the baits is like, it's part of Toxic. That's how hip hop is part of Toxic. It's like, I don't even see doing it another way. It's just, you make it work. It was like a time in my life, actually. Like there was some hiccups that were happening, transitioning from construction into a unknown field, and there was just a lot of things that weren't going right in my life at the time, I guess. And I'd always made lures, and then I started making stuff again, and people wanted them, just trying out. And I had just got a tattoo, actually, that says toxic. And then it was just like all that happened at the same time. So it was natural. It was just natural to name it that. I don't know where it came from. And then toxic baits, once I thought about it, is just so perfect with, the lure aspect and fishing and catching fish and calling it toxic. I think it must be just my style, because then my toxic baits, Instagram is toxic baits suck. So like with lures being supposed to catch fish, I thought it would be good toxic, like, kill them. So it just kind of, it materialized naturally, but it fits so good. It was just like, it came up and I just chose it. We had a housing crisis in Northern California, and the bottom dropped out. I did concrete, and nobody could take out $20,000 in equity of their loan to get concrete. So it was slower and slower. And Silas was 3. My son was 3 years old. It was just tough. It was just a tough time, and then so it put stress on my relationship with my lady, and we split up for a while, and then I went 9 months unemployed, accumulating debt, and then I finally got the job at the refinery and started to come back. But as soon as I got that, then I got slapped with past loans or something. It was an uphill battle from there. It was like it was like I hit a reset button. It was like my construction job stopped. I had to get reset, get my own place, be a single dad for a while, manage all that, and then at the same time I started making baits and selling them. So that was like the origin, like the birth date, it was like a rebirth. And then so toxic's just been there ever since, and I paid rent a couple months to my brother-in-law and my sister. I was in between places, and then with baits, and then kind of realized that I needed to take a step back and figure out how to get these wood baits better. But not very long, from then on I was selling limited amounts of wooden baits to people, and it just grew from there. By 2011, I was selling, baits every month, like dozens of baits every month by then. So 2009 was like the official, I'm making these lures. The Wakey Crank I made in like 2007, I think. And we were just fishing it personally and trying to keep it a secret. That was our point, was to keep it a secret, to win in tournaments. But then it just progressed into making it for other people, and started making them, to sell. I didn't know. I just quit, and I thought I could make a lot, but I never even seen this far ahead. I talked to my boys before I quit that run flooring companies and construction jobs, because I could do construction. I talked to all of them before I quit. I was like, hey, if I can't sell enough to pay the bills, so I got some hours to come in, they're like, oh yeah, we got you. But yeah, once I figured out, like the first year I was going to Bassmaster Classic and all that stuff, and it seemed very feasible, and it was doing good, and it was kind of more of a struggle. And then last winter, so like a year ago right now, is when I got that feeling of like, oh yeah, I'll be doing this forever. Or that's the hope. It was a good feeling. It's an overwhelming feeling because I'm not good at it, but I'll figure it out. In the back of my mind, it was always a possibility, I guess, so everything I did, I set up for it. Like my manufacturing process, I always set up for efficiency. The painting, everything has been set up that way, but I never thought, there's no entrepreneurs in my family or nothing. Like my uncle owns a business it's a contracting business. I used to do concrete and do stuff on the side and pursue like that, but it was, I don't know, I still don't know what to do in small business. So it was just, I couldn't take my job anymore. I couldn't take the work environment. It was a great job and stuff. The environment was just crushing me. So when there was a hiccup there, that's when I knew that I had to make toxic work. Not like I wanted to, which of course you kind of do, but it's scary, you know? Not scary like it wouldn't work, just scary like, how do you build this? How do you do this? There's no blueprint. But then it was, well, I couldn't take my job anymore, so I couldn't take working there. So I just abandoned ship, blew that popsicle stand. Toxic baits was about making what I called like transitional swim baits, to transition people from conventional into the larger baits, because you fish them like reaction baits. They're not true swim baits in all senses of the words, like a Huddleston. But when somebody gets a toxic, I just want them to feel like they got a tool for the trade of catching fish that is beyond proven, caught fish nationwide, in other countries, everything, and that they know that it's backed, that it's backed by me, by Caesar, by Toxic, that if something does happen, I'll take care of them. They just have to, just has to be processed, get a hold of me. Like, it's a piece of me that I'm selling out there. So I want people to know, like, that I stand behind it 100%. And I do that all the time. So I think when somebody gets a bait from Toxic, they know that they're getting a lure that'll catch fish. And then if there's an issue, that it can be resolved. You don't realize how it scales up so fast. From sun up to sundown, I'm usually doing something, trying to make it work. You wake up before I take my son to school, and depends on how late I stayed up the night before, but come down, make some coffee, check the socials. My lady does the email, and then we go to work, whatever the task is for the day. We usually work through batches in different days, and work until I go get my son. I work while he's at school, and then I usually pick him up unless my lady goes and does it, but it makes for a nice break, because then employees go home, and then I get home and work more. There's some task I usually have to do before I cook dinner or before I hang out with the family at night, and because you have to hang out with your family at night, I'm learning. I try to engage in as many communities as I can, because I feel like, well, I am part of the community. I'm part of the angling community, so I try to be a part of it. And then, I think you have to be a part of it to understand what's needed in the community, like what bait's needed, what gear, what they like, and whatever's happening. I think we're one of the only industries, our niche industry is one of the only industries that we are so in touch with the customers. We're like, really in touch. Like, they can just get a hold of the owner. You can't. Other industries ain't like that. So sometimes it's hard to, it can be a hard pill to swallow, but it's just, it is what it is. So I think it's an advantage, because if somebody has a question, they could usually get a hold of me through email or PMs. It's not a long, arduous process, or you're not talking to a secretary or, a call center. What would I want people to remember Caesar by? I don't know. He was a good father, and his baits caught fish. That's it. Good to his family, and his baits caught fish. That's it. That's all I care about. I don't need anything. That's the legacy. My son grows up. He's a great kid already. I'm already happy. I could die tomorrow and be a happy man. So there's not much to me. I hope to grow Toxic exponentially. It's like a hobby, I like Toxic, I like the vibe, I like the customers. So if I could keep providing value to my customers on multiple platforms and, through multiple products, whatever I can do, that's what I want to do. I want to grow it as large as I could grow it, into conventional tackle. We're already doing apparel and stuff. There's no end goal. I'm just working to get better every day. So I'll never be satisfied. Just keep growing until I can't grow anymore, and then figure out how to fix that problem.